I am 92 years old and I am sitting at a dining table that could seat 8 people but hasn't fed a single soul in over 11 years. This table cost me more money than my father made in his entire lifetime. Solid oak and carved legs. I had it shipped from an Italian craftsman who told me it was built to last generations. He was right about that. The table lasted. The generations didn't. At least not here, not in this house, not around these chairs, for chairs sit tucked neatly against the edges, perfect and touched, like a display in a furniture store nobody visits. Dust has made itself comfortable on every surface. A thin grey coat that I sometimes wipe with my sleeve and sometimes just stare at because what's the point? The whole house smells like reheated food from plastic containers. That and old wood polish. And silence. Silence has a smell. Let me tell you, it smells like a life that stopped being lived in. The only thing that makes noise in this house anymore is the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. Loud enough to remind me that time is still passing even though everything inside these walls stopped a long time ago. If you are working late tonight thinking it is for your family, stop everything and listen carefully to what I'm about to say. I once believed that success would pull everyone closer, that one day I would sit at a grand table surrounded by my wife, my children, maybe their children, and we would laugh and eat and be grateful for everything I built. Instead, I sit here alone. The table is set for ghosts. The plates stay cold. And the only voice in this room is mine bouncing off walls that don't care. Let me tell you about the man I used to be. I was hungry, not for food, for proof. Proof that I mattered. Proof that I was not going to end up like my father who worked an honest job and died with nothing in his pocket and worrying lines so deep you could lose a coin in them. I loved that man, but I swore I would never be him. So I became something worse. I became a man who was never home. I worked like the world would end if I stopped. 14-hour days, 16 sometimes. I missed birthdays, not one or two, all of them. I missed school plays where my daughter stood in the back row dressed like a tree, nervous, looking into the audience for a face that was not there. I missed my son's first cricket match. His coach told me later he kept looking toward the stands. I said I would make it up to him. I never did. My wife would set the table every night. 4 plates, 4 glasses, 4 sets of cutlery laid out with care. She did this for years even when she knew I would call at 7:30 and say the same words. I will be late. Big opportunity tonight. Save me a plate. She always saved the plate. She wrapped it in foil and left it on the counter. After a while she stopped warming it up. After a longer while she stopped setting my place at all. But I could not see any of this. I was climbing. Promotions came like rewards from a game I thought I was winning. My name on office doors. My signature on deals worth more than my childhood home. The numbers in my bank account grew and I thought each zero was another brick in the beautiful life I was building. By 45 I had done it. I was a millionaire. I remember the exact day. I stood in my office and looked out the window at the city below and felt like I had conquered something. The first thing I did was buy this table. I walked into that Italian furniture shop and pointed at the most expensive piece they had. I told the salesman this table is going to be the center of my family's life. He smiled the way salesmen do. I did not care. I imagined Sunday dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays finally celebrated properly. My children pulling out chairs and fighting over who sits where. My wife bringing out dishes and laughing at something I said. This table was going to fix everything. This table was where the good life would finally begin. They delivered it on a Tuesday. I came home early that day, maybe the first time in years that the sun was still up when I pulled into the driveway. The house was large, beautiful, 5 bedrooms, a garden with a fountain I had never once sat beside. I walked through the front door carrying a bottle of wine, and I expected noise. I expected life. I expected my family to be there, waiting, ready to see what I had brought home. The house was quiet, not peaceful quiet, empty quiet, the kind of quiet that echoes when you set a bottle down on a marble counter. The kitchen smelled faintly of old coffee, the burnt kind that sits in the pot too long because no one bothered to pour it out. The lights were off except for the one above the stove that my wife always left on. I stood there in my expensive suit, holding my expensive wine, in my expensive house, and I listened to nothing. The refrigerator hummed, low and steady. The clock on the wall ticked. I could hear my own breathing, which is something you only notice when there is absolutely nothing else to hear. I walked over to the fridge and saw a note held by a magnet. My daughter had made in school years ago. A little clay heart with her thumbprint in the center. The paint mostly chipped away now. The note was in my wife's handwriting. Small, neat, no emotion. Took the kids to dinner. They were tired of waiting. 7 words. That is all it took to undo 25 years of ambition. I read it 3 times. Then I pulled out a chair at my brand new dining table. The one that was going to change everything. And I sat down, alone. The wood smelled like fresh polish. The chairs were too clean. The plates were still in the cabinet. I sat there with my hands flat on the surface and I felt the silence press against me like water, filling a room. For the first time in my life I understood. I had not been building a life for my family. I had been building a life away from them. Every late night, every missed dinner, every phone call that started with "I will be late" was another step out the door. I thought I was running toward something. I was running away from everything that mattered. They were never proud of the money. They were tired of the empty chair, tired of waiting, tired of loving a man who was only there in paychecks and apologies. Years passed after that night. I tried. I want you to know that. I tried to come home earlier, tried to sit at the table, but you cannot reheat a family the way you reheat leftovers. The damage was already done. My children grew up and moved out. My son took a job overseas. He calls on holidays. Short conversations, polite, like talking to a distant relative. My daughter lives 2 hours away. She visits once a year, sits at this table for exactly 1 meal, makes small talk, and leaves before dark. My wife stayed longer than she should have. Decades of loneliness held together by duty and habit. One morning I came downstairs and her closet was half empty. She left a note on the kitchen counter. Not angry, just honest. She said she had spent 30 years sitting across from an empty chair, and she could not do it anymore. I did not blame her. I still don't. Now I live in this house alone. 5 bedrooms, and not a single person sleeping in them. A garden with a fountain I still have never sat beside. And this table, this magnificent, expensive, handcrafted table, where I sit every night and place plates on empty chairs, because my hands remember the habit, even if there is no one left to feed. Dust gathers on the wood no matter how often I wipe it. It comes back every time like a reminder. The silence in this room is heavier than any 14-hour workday I ever endured. Those days were loud, phones ringing, people talking, deals closing. But this silence, this is the kind that sits in your chest. The money bought the house. It bought the table. It bought a version of success I could show the world. But it could not buy back a single bedtime story. A single conversation where my daughter told me about her day. A single evening where my son showed me something he drew in school and I actually stopped long enough to look at it. You cannot purchase memories you were never present to make. Now let me talk to you. Yes, you. The one watching this at midnight with your laptop still open. The one who told your wife you would be home by 8 and it is now 11. The one who missed your kids' game last weekend. Bought them something expensive to make up for it. The one who keeps saying next month will be different. It will not be different. I know because I said the same thing for 25 years and now. I eat dinner alone at a table built for a family that no longer exists in this house. Go home. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Sit at your table. Eat whatever is there even if it is cold. Ask your children what happened today and actually listen to the answer even when it is boring and small and seems like nothing. Those nothing moments are everything. I would trade every zero in my bank account for one ordinary Tuesday night with my family sitting in these four chairs, talking about nothing important, laughing about something I cannot even remember. The real measure of success is not the size of your account. It is not the title on your door. It is not the house or the car or the table. The real measure of success is who still wants to sit across from you at dinner, who still looks up when you walk through the door, who still saves you a plate because they believe you are coming home. One day this house will be quiet. One day these chairs will stay empty. One day you will have all the time you kept saying you needed, and there will be no one left to spend it with. Do not let your family become strangers you worked for.